Hello, everyone. Welcome to the GSC Talk Show. And today with me, we have Mr. Brian Esposito, the founder and president of Esposito Intellectual Enterprises, which is a holding company with 20 years of rich experience in the space of startups, investments, and it focuses on manufacturing to distribution, retail, hospitality, hotel development, telecom, aviation space, and blah, 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 all sort of things. So I think Mr. Brian will be able to tell you more about what he has to do or where he comes to. Welcome, Brian, to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, and hope you're having a great weekend.
Great, Brian. So, Brian, before we begin our thing, let me understand that our viewers will also be interested to know, how do you see an entrepreneurial journey when you look at from the investor perspective or from a perspective of a human being? Any lessons learned or how you look at it?
Yeah, quite a lot of lessons and bruises learned along the way. So what I've done and developed is over 20 years of my professional career as a startup founder, over 90 companies now in my holdings. There's over 150 joint ventures around the world. And as you mentioned, some of the different industries, operating over 25 different industries. So learning experiences, speed bumps, hurdles, life lessons along the way. So I'm honored to understand both sides of the table. As a founder and a startup entrepreneur, I understand, what you need to be in business, follow your dreams and your passions, and hopefully surround yourself with the right people. On the investment side and the support side, I understand what is needed to help these companies grow and become successful. After many years of trial and error, I only invest or get involved with companies that have actual revenues now, and they actually have a pipeline of revenues. I'm not a unicorn chaser. I don't build companies or technologies or products in the hopes that they would have some sort of value in the future. I need that to have value immediately. And what I love that I get to do now is I get to take everything that I've built. So it's all these companies, partnerships, access and relationships, investment banking side, and actually work with startups, even up to Fortune 500 companies, and help them become successful, help them grow, and more importantly, protect founders. A lot of founders find themselves on this hamster wheel of raise capital, run out of capital, raise capital, run out of capital. And at some point, they dilute themselves out of their own company, and they find themselves in a very unfortunate situation out of survival. And it's just what people are used to doing. And I'm a big believer is if you're going to go into business or you're going to develop a piece of IP, a product, a solution, or technology, you got to find a way to bring in some revenues. You got to be able to bring in cash flows to support your business, support yourself, and any potential employees that you may have brought on. So with that being said, go out and get one customer. Go out and get somebody that wants to support you, buy your product, support the company, and generate revenue, because that'll help you be in business. And then that one customer can become two, two can become four, four becomes eight, eight becomes 16. And all of a sudden you're in business. What happens when people are out raising capital, they're not running or managing their business. You can't do both at the same time. And I often say you can't be half pregnant. So there's always that issue where when you're running out of money, fear sets in. All the employees can feel that. Your stakeholders or investors can feel that. There's uncertainty in the company. There's uncertainty and not much confidence in the company's direction. So you have to focus on your time on being smart, resourceful, nimble, and do everything you can to bring in a paying customer or a paid pilot program or something to support the company's initiatives.
Wow, what a great philosophy. I'm sure you have summarized everything that a startup should be looking at or should be holding with themselves in the progress of their journey towards becoming a bigger company and coming into the market. And the best part is to protect the founders. As you said, they should be protecting their own values, their own direction, and obviously their own position in the company as founders in the long chase of raising investments and raising capitals and expanding the businesses. Yeah, I mean, those are quite important things and a bigger lessons, which I'm sure our viewers and listeners will also be looking at, and they'll be taking lessons from it. Technology at these days is booming in sports, be it in every sector, and sports is not an exception. And how do you see this as it would be impacting the sports segment, and how the technology would be helping to build the business around the sports ecosystem to lead it to sustainability?
Yeah, well, you're seeing a lot of faster than usual movement for technology to be adopted in industries like sports, banking, the gambling or gaming industry. These typically had very long sales cycles to bring in potential technologies or new services or solutions. Obviously, a global shutdown and COVID forced these companies to find new ways, or these sports teams or brands to find new ways to interact, engage, and generate revenues from their fan base or their customer base. So, with that being said, you saw great mass adoption of new technologies being implemented. What I've said multiple times, and my fear is rushing to implement something without the right strategy or support or team behind it doesn't mean it's going to be a success. And a lot of great technology companies have now gotten their technology into the ecosystem of a professional sports team, brand, or even IP own holdings companies. But if those companies don't have the teams in house to understand what that technology can do, how you can properly monetize it, I fear that these advancements are going to hit walls and not progress any further. Same thing's happening with what's happening in the metaverse. Been involved in this space since inception. We have technologies and holdings that have coined Web3 in the early 2000s. Getting companies and brands to understand what it is and how to properly maneuver and engage their brand in a Web3 or metaverse environment, they don't understand it. And I reference it back to when social media started. You had this boom with things like Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, and companies and brands knew they had to be there, but they did not have the right talent or the right job descriptions internally to properly manage onboarding their brand into these new social media mediums. Same thing's happening now with the metaverse. And I've actually been working with and advising up to Fortune 500 companies where just hit the brakes and don't do your brand any damage or harm and say that you're in the metaverse now, but there's no real utility, there's no real connection, there's no real strategy. These communities in the crypto, NFT, and Web3 spaces are very smart. They can abandon your brand in seconds if you don't do something that correctly appreciates them and gives them the understanding of what the real reason for your brand being in Web3 or the metaverse actually is. So again, my advice to companies is don't put out a flashy news release that you're now Web3 or you're now in the metaverse, but there's really nothing behind it. There's really no utility or mechanism or strategy behind it. I think you're doing your company brand, sportings team a disservice. Just do it right. Find great companies that are now in the market that are helping brands go into the metaverse and Web3, and understand it's a long-term new channel. The majority of the world doesn't understand what that is. There's a big audience now, but it's very small in the scheme of everybody on the planet. So it's something you have to have a long-term vision with and understand what these communities want and how you can properly be successful with this new medium for your IP or your brand or your sports team.
Absolutely. And precisely that you mentioned, we should be focusing more on the strategic part, and the solutions or the products should be developed in a way to actually cater to the market sentiment and the market requirement, not just move in a pace or just hurry or rush up to actually compete with the others and not focusing on what exactly they are supposed to build or what they are looking to build on. We are talking a lot about these days in about Web3 and all and its application in almost many of these fields. How do you feel that this Web3 is going to reshape the way we are communicating or engaging with the football fans when I talk about the football ecosystem?
Well, I think you're going to have great new user experiences and engagement. What's exciting about the idea of Web3 in the sports arena or European football or soccer, as we say in the United States, segment is the utility of possibly being able to have another level of engagement with the team, or maybe your own professional athlete that you're a huge fan or idol of. There's another way of connecting with them in this ultimate VR world now. A lot of great Web3 and metaverse companies understand that you have to have the web portal and have it be 2D because, again, the majority of the world does not have VR equipment to properly be in a fully VR metaverse related experience. So that's going to take some time before everybody gets the equipment and understanding of what that next level of engagement and connectivity can actually be like. But in the meantime, you're seeing great new mechanisms with obviously NFTs, the ability for NFTs to have unique ticketing feature functionalities with additional utility that gives you another level of connection and engagement, and that reward perks or that special privileges to a football club that you may be a member of as far as going to the games. But the ability to have that connection with them in a Web3 metaverse medium is just the next level of us evolving with technology and how we're experiencing brands, IP, and sporting clubs. We have a company known as Turncoin. We spent over 5 years of development. It's the first registered SEC digital security. And our operating company, the exchange known as Virtual Stacks, goes into this by allowing fans to be able to buy virtual shares of their favorite players or musician or actor, actress, celebrity, influencer, or business person. So now you actually get to participate in this new type of Web3 environment with a financial mechanism to be part of your favorite player's journey and have that next level of connection to them. And by owning virtual shares of them, that opens up new perks and connectivity and utility for exclusive NFT offerings, maybe private events where you can actually be with the players, things where these clubs can now monetize their brands and their players to another level that they couldn't do before. And the other side of virtual stacks is the ability to fund and finance players' dreams that are amateurs or novices. So if you give these people a mechanism and a financial mechanism where they can go to their friends, their family, their coaches, their teammates, anybody in their local economy to buy virtual shares of themselves, so they can be the next Pele, they can be the next professional football player with the financial support to go out and take lessons, buy new equipment, go and get a new ball, whatever it may be that they need. They don't have to give up on their dreams because they have to now go get a job in order to survive. So with companies and technologies and connectivity, like things like virtual stacks, it's another level of engagement, connectivity, but also help these potential professional players be able to finance their dreams and not give up on their passions.
Absolutely. I mean, the bigger picture is yet to unfold, but we are seeing the initial things right now, and it's so exciting that all of us would be looking at how the technology is unfolding into the Web3 and connecting with the user experience, which is given priority here. You have been working with one of the product that is Bappies. Can you tell more about it?
Oh, absolutely. It's a phenomenal NFT sensation. We created a company known as Chain Tech Labs, the first of its kind to be incorporated and licensed out of the DIFC in Dubai, UAE. One of its projects, as you mentioned, is Bapes, or our Bapes clan. We became the fastest organic growing NFT project in the world without spending a single dollar on marketing or advertising. At one point, we've hit over a 500 million US dollar market cap with all of our NFT projects and portfolio holdings, which is Bapes, Bapes Clan, Apians, Cubex, Bloodlines, and many more to be announced. We actually just announced a partnership with Stan Lee, Genesis, the famous comic book and superhero creator. That just was announced last night. So we've created quite an amazing model. We changed the game for what NFTs are. We really went at it like a business and created an exceptional value, excitement for our NFT holders. And we understand that this is, just as I mentioned before, it's another mechanism for brands and companies or projects to be able to help finance the project's financial needs, but also build a community around that. So you have a huge support system when you hit it right, and you're transparent and you're clear and you're available for these communities on a basically 24-hour basis. You need to be able to nurture the community that you're building, have them fully understand what you're trying to accomplish. And we've created some of the loyal NFT holders in the world. We have a staking program where nearly 96% of all NFT holders stake their NFTs inside of our ecosystem. So they're not selling them, they're not trading them, they're long-term holders, they believe in what we're doing. And we're doing everything possible to create exceptional utility, value, and everybody understands there may be a speed bump along the way, but we're very seasoned professional executives and business people. We understand problems. We face problems every day, and nobody's immune to problems. That's the reality of life. As long as you have good health, anything else is relatively fixable. And when you're going into a new exciting market like Web3, new technology advancements, NFTs, crypto, or blockchain, It's still in its infancy. Nobody really knows the full direction and the full capabilities of what we're creating. But you got to be in new markets and new technologies. You got to adapt or die. It's pretty much been said forever. And companies that understand this understand they got to bring on exceptional talent. They have to really believe in that talent and support that talent to lead that initiative, because you have to know what these communities are wanting. You have to know what they're demanding. And again, I don't care if you're the biggest sensation in the world or the biggest company in the world. If it doesn't mean you drop an NFT project and it's going to be successful. It's got to really connect with your community, and it's got to provide real value, and they really have to believe in you.
Absolutely, but technology is somewhat, it has to be accepted and adopted by a community, and Babes is no such exception to it. So we have some users whom you might have reached out and they are using that part. How do you see that coming to Indian subcontinent? Do you really consider that this part of the world, the Indian subcontinent, would be your probable destination in coming days for launching the Babes?
One more time with the question. I'm not fully
I was
following the question.
saying that each of these the communities, they have the influence. I mean, there is certain technology which is more adaptable or acceptable in one particular community
Mhm.
because of their various mechanisms or way of interactions. So if I take an example of United States, might be that Web3 and other applications are finding their ways much more better because they are actually imbibed into the system. But here, if I talk about the Indian subcontinent, do you really think that this would be a market for you in probable coming days for the projects like Babes?
Oh, 100%. I mean, a lot of any hesitation or restrictions, especially as it relates to crypto or NFTs or digital assets, there's a regulatory component. So you have government regulations on certain mechanisms that aren't allowed in certain regions. But I think the world knows, as far as talent and development, your amazing country provides some of the smartest engineers and developers in the world that are allowing for these companies to actually develop these technologies and distribute them in the world. India is key to any engineering web development. I mean, without your massive community of engineers and developers, we would not have reached the accomplishments that we've reached in technology for many reasons. Obviously, the economic point is one of the reasons why your country and your talent is so amazing, because you're able to develop things for amazing companies, whether in-house or an outside firm, because of the fee structure that you're able to offer to web development or technology development. So you allow for companies to be successful, you allow for profitability, and I don't think without the Indian community, we would have seen a lot of the technology advancements that we've seen over the last 2 decades. So for that, I know I'm very grateful for some of the great companies in my holdings and the partnerships I have with the Indian development community. So you're key to the building of it. You would think you'd be key to the distribution and the adaption and the acceptance of it. So great question, and I hope that we have 1 billion people that are trading NFTs and participating in Web3 within your region.
And I'm sure this talk will inspire them to think about it, because right now awareness is some kind of thing which is an issue right now, but maybe in coming years this will be growing up. People will be knowing more about it, and once they are comfortable with that concept, maybe using the technology is not a big deal. So I'm sure the day will be there. How
Yep.
how do you see the NFT and Meta moving in next few years? Like whether they will be complementing each other or will be like a developing into different streams altogether. How do
Uh,
you see to?
yeah, hybrid of both. We have a great holding called Meta Sport Arena. The CEO, Julian, is a phenomenal guy, also ex-professional football player, building what I think is one of the best metaverse related environments that I've seen. all sports related, all based around the stadium being the center of a city, and then businesses and experiences around that stadium to experience in VR. So things like that, you're going to see tokenization inside of that metaverse, where certain tokens are going to have to be purchased through Metasport Arena to be able to participate in buying land, building buildings, but actually going and maybe experiencing a match inside of the stadium. That's where it gets really exciting. So you start to open up the viewership, not just televised or in person at an actual game, but also in this new level of connectivity and experiencing a match in VR or on or in 2D on your screen that you wouldn't be able to really otherwise experience before. So you can actually sit with people inside of VR, maybe it's friends from college, and actually enjoy the game inside of this environment. Maybe you're where you are, I'm over here in New Jersey, and then we can actually participate and watch a game together in real time through these type of great advancements in technology. So those are the things that are going to be exciting for fans to be able to connect, engage. Obviously, sports betting is moving into a whole nother level of acceptance and adoption. So you're going to see waging inside of these experiences start to kick off another level of connectivity and monetization. But more importantly, the brand, team owners, the IP owners are going to have new ways to really value their IP, connect with their audience and fans, and give them new ways to participate in buying or having some sort of a token or digital asset inside of their digital wallet, inside of the metaverse of their choosing, that gives them another level of connectivity to their favorite teams or players. So it's moving in the right direction. Very, very fragmented, which is going to be interesting to see. There's no real interoperability between all of these digital wallets or metaverse related worlds or experiences. That's the unfortunate / fortunate part of what's happening. You're going to have all these different isolated communities that will pick a metaverse over the other because they're committed to that, or their favorite team is in one and not in the other. So I'm of the opinion these brand or team owners or IP owners need to have some sort of presence in every metaverse, because we don't know who the real authority is going to be in this space. And there will be consolidation at some point with all these metaverses coming together. And ideally what it'll be doing is you'll be buying communities. So you're going to be buying a metaverse because it's got millions of people in its community. And that's the value that you'll start to see, I think, relatively quickly, because there's a ton of money being poured into the space. So if you're a team or a brand or an IP owner, I think you need to be everywhere, because you don't want to isolate a potential new audience or fan. You want to be able to cater your brand everywhere you possibly can at some correct strategy that doesn't reduce the brand's integrity or just look like fluff. It's got to have some real value and some real experience behind it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the user experience and the entire interactions and watching the game and everything in virtual reality, trading into it, getting monetization part of it, and finding new IP assets to this application of technology is going to amaze us. But surely the actual watching a game aside of a football field is something different, and that feeling is something which is unparalleled. We are trying to bridge the gap between the technology, using the technology between the physical and virtual world. But that is something, a question that I leave up to the future to see that how much we'll be able to resemble the experiences. You all, last before we end the session, I would like you to summarize and give some message to the people who are into this field of Web3 and technology for development, to figure out the new assets, new ways of engagement with the community in a football.
Absolutely. Well, still in its infancy. So anybody focused on this space or learning how to code and develop or build a list of clients, you're in a great moment of being part of something incredibly special. And you should continue to push forward, figure out how your offering, your technology, your service or your solution will fit into this space. Never compare yourself to anybody else. Never feel defeated or unaccomplished, because what you're doing and what you're building is quite exceptional. Find one client, cherish that client, perfect your model, perfect your pricing, perfect your solution, and then rinse and repeat it, and then replicate it elsewhere.
Absolutely. Thank you, Brian, for the wonderful talk. And, I learned a lot of insights today. My understanding about this Web3 has moved to a next level. I'm sure even our viewers would be happy to know more about the technology and its advancements. And we are looking forward to the future to see how much we are gonna be there in that virtual world resembling our real world thing, and what is the technology leading us to the next level. Thank you so much for being here and sharing your views.
Thank you so much, my friend. I appreciate the opportunity, and have a great rest of your day, and we'll speak soon.
Sure.